3, 2, 1.
Good evening and welcome to the February 27th Board of Supervisors meeting. And stand and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Galloway, can you call roll, please?
Yes. Aaron Mullen.
Here.
John Palmer.
Here.
Jeff Boraski.
Here.
Jeff Dents. Brian Galloway's here.
Let the record show Mr. Dents had a work commitment tonight. All right, we're going to start with a presentation for the donation of battery flares for the fire police for our 3 fire departments in Falls Township. I'll ask Mr. DePolito to help me with this, but this is a program that we saw one of our sister townships did with their fire police. I personally think it's a great product. Spoke to Rich and the board about it, and the township was able to secure some funds and order a few units to disperse through the community.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Boraski. As an effort to increase safety for our fire police, actually you contacted me. I hadn't seen them, but they were being used in another municipality, and we were able to get some demos and talk to the salesman, and the township was able to buy enough units so we could start divvying them up to the different fire police. They're a battery-operated flare instead of using a live flare that we have in the street. They work in sync. They can be programmed to do different things. They can be used with traffic cones to illuminate, anything to try and better protect our guys, the fire police that are out in the street. And I'm sure at some point, once we get acclimated with these, we'll be moving them forward with the police and other departments. But that's it in a nutshell, and there's some gentlemen here if you want
We
to.
have a couple of our guys here tonight. I can see that we already gave them out to. Everybody come up with.
I don't know if you want to bring them
have
up. Yeah, somebody did bring them. I know they did
there we
bring
go.
them.
Brian has this.
These get charged off a DC charger off a car. They're 12 volt. You can pull it off,
Same
Brian.
operation?
Yeah, you can pull it off. Get my stuff out of the way. Put them on the floor. They automatically sync. You can change the color. You can change the way they illuminate side, top. There's a million different things for the fellows that have done the training.
So this is in exchange for breaking a flare, and it also doesn't leave anything behind on the road. And
That's correct. And it should, what's a flare, 20 minutes, something like that? These should last longer than 20 minutes if they have to go out on a highway with them.
it's awesome.
I do.
Want to bring all the guys up?
Yeah,
Plenty of guys here to get a picture?
yeah.
Yeah, if everyone that came from the fire companies want to come up, we'll get a quick picture.
Stand back up. We should stand
Yeah,
up
we'll
there.
stay up here. Yeah. Brian, appreciate you bringing your set.
Doesn't matter. I don't know. See what it does with the picture. Up there, and then Teresa can get a nice picture.
Thanks for coming, guys. How are you? Good. How are you?
Chris, can you kind of come in a little bit more? Stand up. I'm going to try to get the flares down. All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy.
Sure. Hold on, guys. They want another picture. Hang on.
Yeah, she'll send it.
Oh, okay. Disregard. Disregard. On behalf of the volunteer fire companies, I'd like to thank the township for purchasing these and handing them out to the volunteers. Anything to make safety better.
If you guys have, if you guys have any issues with it, I'm not sure what the warranty is, but you contact Rich or one of his guys from his department, and we'll get it taken care of.
Thank you.
Mike or Lauren, would you guys like to comment on executive session?
Thank you, Mr. Boraski. The board held an executive session prior to this meeting to discuss matters of personnel, potential litigation, and collective bargaining agreements.
All right, item number 1 on our agenda is public comment. Is there a sign-in sheet for public comment? Thank you. We have one name on the sign-in sheet, resident sign-in sheet, Patrick Boyle.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight to talk about a few things about the EIT. I'll just get right to it. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the fees from the,
Can you please talk into the microphone?
I'm sorry. The host community fees, from what I gathered, the information online and from different articles I read, is not really required for 10 years from now. You have enough funds in the account or whatever you're doing to receive the fees, you won't really zero out for another 10 years. And based on the study that was done, you're going to collect $5 million a year, correct?
Betsy, can you answer that? I don't believe. If it's 10 years, I think it's a dollar amount that we have. Is it
You're talking about how much
140?
Yeah, I
gonna
read
collect
somewhere, as
in?
it said, it might be a decade before that occurs.
Yeah, it's a dollar amount.
Yeah, it was 120 or 130 million, something like that?
I believe it's 140 million.
Okay. So I'm just throwing around rough numbers. So by my math, that means the township's going to have a $50 million reserve. Now, I don't know if the state allows townships to carry that much reserve. I guess that's one of my first questions. Is the township allowed to carry a $50 million reserve? And if not, is there something you're going to do with that $50 million that I'm not aware of? But it seems like it's not required for the next 10 years. Again, round numbers. So who am I supposed to be talking to get an answer?
Well, you can
to
talk
that?
to me, but if you want to go through all your questions, then we can give our finance director or our legal counsel, they can help answer some of these.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, because what I've read is this tax was started not due to need, but because of a significant amount of money that was going to the other townships. So,
It was started by us in a way to be proactive in the landfill eventually running out someday.
10 years ahead of time, correct? About. Okay, so that's the one thing I wanted to find out what's going on with that issue as far as why they're starting to collect it now 10 years prior to when this thing is really going to kick in.
I don't know if it's a year on it, it's a dollar amount, so if they reach it in
Again,
4
I'm
years
just-
or 5
I'm
years.
loosely based on what I've seen in print. So if it's 8 years, okay, it's 8 years. So then it's $40 million that the account will have when we're all said and done. The next thing is Keystone Collection Group. How much is the township paying Keystone Collection Group to do this tax services for 4 times a year? And is there a setup fee? How many years contract have we signed up?
I'm not sure what the fee is, but I can tell you that this is approved by the county of Bucks. We didn't pick Keystone Collections. We don't get to pick our
I thought
collection
there was 2
agency.
different groups. Keystone, Berkheim, or whatever, they're the same, one and the same, or they're 2 different groups, or?
There's only one that's mandated that we use by the county.
Keystone Collections collects for all of Bucks County.
Okay, is the township allowed to do their own tax collection?
No, not on an EIT.
Really? The state won't allow you to collect your own taxes? That's a good one. And I guess the last one I have is, I understand the issue with people working in Philadelphia. There's a law, apparently, that Philadelphia can't give up that 1%. Is there any way that the township personnel, as well as other township and other counties to, I guess I'll call it gang up on Philadelphia and get our money, fight for our money? You know, because 1% is, that's like $1.25 million a year we're losing out because we're not collecting from the Philadelphia employees.
Our solicitors can answer that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, the Sterling Act has been litigated repeatedly over the years. We can't get that money back from Philadelphia.
Canada, they won't give it up.
They could pay me to sue Philadelphia, and I'd get a big boat eventually named the Sterling Act. But no, you're not going to be able to get that from Philadelphia. Municipalities have looked at it from time to time. We represent certain municipalities in Bucks and Montgomery County. Over the years, they've had us take a look at it. It's just not going to be successful. It could be done through legislative change.
Which is our esteemed.
No, which is the House of Representatives and the state.
So all the
Senate
state
in
reps, you're
Harrisburg.
saying?
Yeah.
So all the people in Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, et cetera, they don't have enough sway to switch that over to grab our 1% back? No? All right, I mean, that's all I had. Are you going to get back to me at another date, or you want me to stay around for this, or?
We've gone over the host community fees and why we started the EIT now multiple times, but you know, it was in an effort to not prolong the inevitable. If Ms. Rooфkoff wants to talk about some of the budgetary numbers and what we have and where our host community fees go or what we do with it, she's more than welcome to.
Yeah, because my rationale is, if you're saying this thing's going to kick in again around 10 years from now.
I'm not saying that, but
Well, okay, $140 million from now. So when that occurs, you know, that again might be so many years down the road where a lot of people are coming and going to township, paying for these township EITs and not really getting anything out of it because it's going to be implemented, you know, whatever years down the road. So,
okay.
Okay, so for these issues, you're just going to get back to me on this,
Well, we answered the Keystone one. We answered the Sterling Act. We could talk about, how about the reserve? Does anybody want to answer? Are we allowed to, is there a cap on the reserve?
There's no prohibition for a municipality engaging in good financial planning and building up a reserves with the idea that at some point in time, the landfill may close, a mill may close down or something along those lines. So having that money in reserve, there's no prohibition against that.
Okay, because the state of New Jersey had something to that effect where you can only carry a certain percentage or whatever it was. There was a number where I actually got money back the following year because they stopped it from collecting so much in the reserve.
Yeah, there are some issues from time to time with school districts having enormous reserves and then still raising
Yeah, I just
taxes.
saw those articles, yeah.
Still raising property taxes, but Falls hasn't raised property taxes in 30 years.
Do I
And
hear
ac-
35?
And actually, it's given money back on at least 2 or 3 different occasions, so.
Okay, all right. So how am I going to get that response? Is that going to be something you're going to publish in the online or something? I mean,
I don't know what isn't published. I mean, there's been so much information we put between our website, links on social media. We've emailed, we've mailed letters. I'm not sure if this is not covered in it or it is covered in that.
okay, because
The host community fee one you want to know, right?
Yeah, why? I mean, as far as we're collecting it now, why now? Because we had a study done on how much it was going to be, but there was no study on when that should be enacted in order to, you know, get out in front of it, I'll say, in a reasonable amount of time. It just seems like, again, I'm going to say 10 years, but it could be 5, it could be 10, I don't know. $140 million from now is what I'm getting at. But
Mr. Rooфkoff, do you want to comment or do you want to we'll get information and send an
Mr.
email?
Boyle, I can answer part of it.
Okay.
I want to thank you for coming out.
thank you.
So we have at our township a general fund in an account of money, and then we have income from host community fees. So our general fund, which in most places is resident supported with taxes, we don't have enough tax income to meet those, and they're mandatory financial obligations that we have. We don't tax enough to make that, so we pull from the host community fees from the landfill money. So in an effort to sustain that beyond when the landfill closes, we, instead of dropping property taxes all at one time the day the landfill closes the door and an EIT, which it wouldn't be enough for one, and it would be shocking to people so that they, honest to God, wouldn't be able to afford to live here. So in looking for the future and trying to protect seniors at this time and to lessen the blow, we wanted to do it incrementally. That plus the fact that so much, I think $3 million was already going out to other townships that we could collect, and also the fact that more than half of our residents were already paying it, 60%-ish. That is why we decided to do it now. So, again,
No, I
as
get
Mr.
that part where you're gaining back the 1% that the other townships are taking from us, essentially. But yeah, that I didn't have an issue with.
Yeah.
And I, like I say, I understand, because if you're only getting $5 million a year from this EIT, and you're saying it's $18 million a year or whatever it is that you need to supplement for the loss from the fees from the I keep calling it a dump, whatever, the complex out there.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to figure out how you're going to work that magical math.
And I mean, the question about the timing is a very good question, and it's, you know, we don't need a report to tell us that we're going to run out of that money if we don't do something. It's just simple.
Yeah, this
math.
was all, like I say, based on where I was in New Jersey, where they said they can only carry certain reserve. I'm like, you know, $50 million is a nice slush fund. If it works that way, if you get the $5 million a year for 10 years and you don't use it, like I say, then you got a slush fund, and what exactly would that go for? I'm guessing, you know, what you're going to do here in the next, you know, year or two to renovate this building. I figure that's probably one piece of the puzzle.
We're not using that to renovate the building.
What's that?
We're not using it to renovate the building.
Oh, okay. All right, well. So you're saying the information's out there. Like I say, I was digging a little bit, but I didn't see anything.
And if you have any other questions, I mean, you're more than welcome to come here, but you might get your answer faster, because we only meet once a month, to email the township manager, and he will get you
Okay,
in touch with the finance director or whatever you need.
all right, good. No, I appreciate your time, and thank you for your patience, and
Yep.
Thank you.
good evening. Thanks.
Is there any, I know there's no one on the non-resident sheet. Is there any public comment online?
No public comment.
Anyone else in the audience have anything? Okay, motion to close public comment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. Item number 2 is certificate of appropriateness for 100 Yardley Avenue, front porch roof replacement. Mr. Takita?
At its February meeting, the Falls Township Historic Architectural Review Board recommended approval of the front porch roof replacement. In front of you is a certificate of appropriateness that you need to approve.
Is there any questions or comments from the board?
None.
Any public comment? No hands? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 3, B&J Group Preliminary Land Development, 1001 Newford Mill Road. Aye.
Good evening. Kim Freemuth here from Spruce Law on behalf of Euclid Inc., which is the legal owner of the property at 1001 Newford Mill Road. E&J Group is operating at this property and has been operating for over 10 years in connection with their warehouse and distribution use. They are proposing to add 3 additions to their existing 178,000 square foot building. The additions are 56,840 square feet. And you may recall that we were here this summer before we went to the zoning hearing board. We came in with a sketch plan showing you the 3 separate building additions of this property. Nothing has changed with respect to the plan. We did go to the zoning hearing board and we did receive relief for impervious surface coverage to allow for these additions. We are proposing an infiltration basin and a green roof on top of one of the building additions. And we did receive a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission at their meeting back in January. We have submitted plans. We are seeking preliminary final approval. They've been reviewed by the Township's engineer, and we can comply with his latest letter as well as the other letters that we've received to date. There are 3 waivers we're seeking. One is to not require street trees along New Ford Mill Road just due to an existing PICO easement. The second is to allow greater than 20% of the wetland margins to be disturbed because of the location of where the existing, one of the building additions, that they do have chemicals in connection with this use. So there are some hazardous materials that need to be separated from the firewall. So there are some chemicals that will be stored and they have to be on that side of the building because that's where the chemicals are currently being stored. So that is the second waiver. And then the third is just to allow the preliminary final combined process to be approved by the board this evening. Happy to answer any additional questions. I do have our engineer here if you have any questions for him.
Any questions from the Board of Supervisors? Mr. Galloway?
No, just, I assume, Mr. Jones, you're okay with all this?
Yes, Mr. Galloway.
Thank you.
Ms. Mullen?
I believe I saw it in one of the advisory committee videos, but I can't remember how much of a wetland
Microphone,
disturbance.
please.
Sorry. How much of a wetland disturbance? I think I remember you saying 29, is that accurate?
I think we had this question in the Planning Commission. I should have wrote it down.
I did write it down.
Yes.
It's 28.8% disturbance, which equates to about 6,500 square feet over what would be allowed.
Okay. And then, Mr. Jones, is that something we typically allow?
The board has granted that waiver in the past for sure, stipulated with the condition that water quality is addressed. And I think in this case, since they're proposing a green roof, all the stormwater management and the water quality associated with that in that vicinity would be contained on the roof.
So in your opinion, is it a wash or are we still?
It's a waiver because the disturbance is greater than the allowable 20%. So I wouldn't call it a wash. It's definitely a waiver for disturbance within the margin, but there's no adverse effects associated with it.
Was the green roof going to get us back our 9% is my question?
It's probably be close.
It's not wetlands that we're disturbing, it's the buffer to the wetlands that's being disturbed. There's no disturbance of wetlands. And again, we would, as your engineer
If
said.
there's a microphone.
Sorry. As your engineer said, we were providing the green roof to provide additional water quality. We're also required to get an NPDES permit from
I
the
see that.
Conservation District that will address water quality for the site.
That is an important clarification, thank you.
No problem.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, 2 questions. The first one is, you're asking for a variance for moving hazardous materials to one side of the building. Can you explain that a little bit?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The waiver for the wetland margin is because we're adding an addition, which is proposed addition C, if you're looking at the plan.
Yeah.
And that is where the flammable materials are stored in the building, and because they're expanding the storage area for flammable materials, they need to put the addition on that side of the building. That's why we're disturbing the wetland margin, because there's a firewall between the flammable and non-flammable materials, and so to expand that storage area for the flammable materials, the only place we could put the addition was on that side of the building, which impacted the wetland margin.
Okay. And you made it through the fire marshal's report with that, right?
Yes, I believe actually the fire marshal had no comments
Okay.
at this time.
And by doing this, how many new jobs do you guys think you might bring in?
I don't know that they anticipate any really new jobs. They're really just expanding their storage areas and services to their existing customer base.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Takita, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add.
Mr. Clark?
Only, Ms. Freeman, if you've gotten all the review letters from the engineer, the fire marshal, and everyone else,
Yes.
and other than the 3 waivers that you're requesting, you are or will comply on everything else.
That's correct.
Mr. Jones, you're good?
Yes.
And I have nothing. At this time, I'll entertain a motion. And you're seeking preliminary and final?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Seconded?
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. You're right, I'm so sorry. I haven't made that note. Is there any public comment? I see no hands. There's been a motion made and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep. Good luck.
Thank you.
Item number 4, LPC Morrisville LP, preliminary land development, 2300 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Yeah, 1 second. Mr. Clark, was the last one supposed to be done by way of resolution?
It's resolution number 2023-4.
Do we need to amend it, that, or we're okay?
We go to resolution number.
Okay, so that was 24?
2023-4.
-4.
We did a voice vote, is that fine?
Yes.
Okay.
We're good on the waivers?
Yeah, we're good, yep.
Thank you.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Good evening. My name's Carrie Nace-Poust. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Fox Rothschild, here this evening on behalf of the applicant, LPC Morrisville LLC, who is also now the owner of the property located at 2300 South Pennsylvania Avenue. Also here with me this evening is Eric Moser, representative of the applicant, as well as Victor Grande, who is the civil engineer on this project. I do have a few handouts, if I may approach.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh. There's a bunch here.
We'll share, we're good. Thank you.
So what I've handed up to you is just a rendered copy of the land development plan. I do want to note that there is a typo with respect to the square footage of the building. The footprint of the building is accurate, however, the square footage itself should be labeled as 976,200 square feet. So this property that's before you this evening, 973,200. The property that's before you, it's approximately 96 acres. It is zoned Riverfront 1 zoning district. It's near Morrisville Borough, adjacent to Post Avenue along the river in a primarily industrial area. You may remember a few years ago, this property was subject to a text amendment to allow a warehouse use to be developed on this property. Since that time, we did submit land development plans back in December of 2020. Since that time, we've been working with the township consultants. We've received several review letters. We've revised the plans, resubmitted them, and are here this evening requesting approval, preliminary final land development approval of the plan. We are proposing, as indicated, a warehouse building, 973,200 square feet, along with parking facilities and stormwater management facilities. Also in the packet, what I handed up to you are renderings of what the proposed building is anticipated to look like. As indicated, we did receive several review letters. We've been working with the township to address those comments. We believe all of the comments have been addressed. All of the planning items have been addressed. There are a few, what I would say minor technical items that still need to be complied with, but all of the comments within the review letters will comply. We are asking for 4 waivers. One waiver with regard to the natural resource protection for the floodplains, another waiver with respect to the natural resource protection ratio relative to the wetlands, a third waiver with regard to the natural resource protection for the woodlands and environmentally sensitive areas, and then the fourth waiver with regard to, which is actually for the stormwater management ordinance as it relates to the groundwater recharge requirements for stormwater infiltration. Again, given that all of the planning issues have been resolved and that only technical items remain outstanding, all of which will comply, we are requesting preliminary/final land development approval this evening. Certainly, if you'd like, we're able to go through the plan in more detail, if you'd like the engineer to go over the layout. Otherwise, if you have any questions, we can certainly address those.
All right. Questions from the board? Mr. Galloway, start there.
No, essentially, this is it's a difficult area. It's like a brownfield, right?
Correct.
So this looks like a good use for the property. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm actually going to go next, only because I was looking through the drawing here, but is this the property where there's an area that's sectioned off that's contaminated, or am I mistaken? And that's not on your drawing, or am I don't see it?
No, that's correct. There's a,
Please identify yourself.
Eric Moser, Logistics Property Company, representing LPC Morrisville LP. Yes, there's an environmental covenant on the site. I think Victor might be the more technical speaker to it, but there's an area that is contaminated that it's capped and is not intended to be disturbed.
What will it look like when it's done? It'll be fenced off, or how do you stay away from it?
It'll be it's currently fenced off now. We'll continue to keep it fenced off. It is it's adjacent to some sensitive areas that are not intended for development.
And pardon me, but I didn't have a chance to look at the drawing. Is it noted on the drawing itself?
Yes.
It is. Okay. All right. That's all I have.
So these, hi, how you doing? Thank you. So these drawings reflect everything from the revisions made subject to the Jones engineering letter from December 12th,
Yes, that's
where it
correct.
says plans need to be revised
And
for.
again, if you could identify yourself.
Yes, Victor Grande with Ritu, civil engineer. Yes, we're at the stage right now where we're cleaning up the technical comments. We've been working with Joe for an extensive period amount of time, so we've got it pretty refined at this point, and we will comply with the remaining comments on the letter.
So proposed woodlands and all that are on here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, everything is reflected on the plan.
So it's obviously kind of concerning, even just from a number standpoint, the floodplain disturbance. How are we gonna make sure you guys don't flood?
So the township does require a floodplain permit. So Joe and I have been working together to preliminarily take a look at that, make sure we were good to go. So when we presented this tonight in front of you, that we were going to then file for the official floodplain permit. So we have been working in the background with that. The application for floodplain is to fill in the floodplain. We've run the calculations and we are actually gonna go to FEMA and get the floodplain boundary change. That's something that LPC wants to do for flood insurance purposes. And then provide that so that to show the flood control.
But is that guaranteed that they'll change the
There's no
boundary?
guarantee that FEMA will accept the calculations, but between our two firms, we're confident that they will. It is counterintuitive to think that there's that much fill going into a site that's in the floodplain and it's not going to cause some sort of flooding elsewhere, but that's part of the FEMA revision process. It's like a letter of map revision based on fill. And because this is an area that has an established floodway, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, they're allowed to fill in the floodplain portion of it so long as they don't alter the floodway. And so through the process of the floodplain permit, we'll be overseeing what Victor's doing and be part of the submission to FEMA so that all three organizations will confer and collaborate on the correct revision to the floodplain with no effect to the floodway. So bottom line is they can put the fill in and not cause a flooding issue.
Okay, and it has been suggested that you're improving this property. Do you just want to talk, like, how exactly are you doing this?
Sure, I can run through the plan real quick if you'd like.
You don't have to run through I mean, you're just bringing in truckloads of sediment? Or how do you?
So there are requirements for fill, EPA, DEP, DEP as requirements for clean fill. So the fill does have to go through a process of you just can't dig dirt from anywhere. It has to go through an approval process. And then the logistics part of that part is trucking the fill in, looking at other options with regards to possibly different ways of getting fill onto the site. But yes, so there are plenty of regulations and guidelines statewide as well that regulate fill.
Okay.
As clean fill and regulated fill without getting into it.
And I think to go to that point and to answer your question in terms of improving the property, this has been a property that's been deteriorated. It's been sitting vacant for many, many years, does have some environmental concerns. And certainly just by the overall redevelopment of it and building a building that will bring jobs into the township, but also, you know, making an improvement so it's not just a vacant, kind of somewhat blighted property sitting there. We believe it would be making this area better improvement.
Thank you. And then finally, it is on the agenda as just preliminary, but it is preliminary and final?
It's only listed as preliminary. I think the applicant has asked for preliminary and final, but it's only listed as preliminary, but it's should.
Microphone, please.
It's purely within the discretion of the board to grant preliminary only or preliminary and final.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, my only concern is if we give the waivers with the floodplain and it is a brown site, what's the opportunity for, I guess, runnage or going into the neighboring properties? I know you said it's capped off. I have no idea what it is. Does somebody want to tell me what it is that's capped off? And if we do make all these waivers, is there a possibility where it could be sending a problem somewhere else?
So there is the environmental contamination, but it was remediated. So just to make sure that's clear for everyone, there's no, the remediation there's a covenant placed on the property to keep the clay caps. So the caps were for infiltration purposes, preventing the spread down into the aquifer. So the fill question that you had asked, with one exception, there's an area that cannot be touched. That's the fenced off area that was spoken about before. The other environmental caps we would be adding to, and in places where we would be adding fill, we would also be adding pavement, which would be preventing even further mitigation into the aquifer.
All right, thank you. That's all I had, thank you.
And certainly in terms of the floodplain and any concerns that you have regarding the floodplain, we would certainly be willing to accept a condition that obviously we would need to work with the township engineer to his satisfaction to make sure that those concerns are addressed.
And I have one more question. How many people might this employ?
So it's a speculative warehouse development, so we don't have a tenant on the hook, but we've projected about 500 potential jobs.
Thank you.
Just to piggyback off Aaron and John's concerns, the process with FEMA, Mr. Jones, will that have any effect whether we go preliminary and final tonight?
No.
Okay. Is there any, are you guys okay right now?
I'm great.
You good? Is there any public comment? I see no hands. Mr. Jones, anything else to add?
I'll just confirm that I've worked with their engineer pretty extensively, and there's been multiple iterations of revisions, and that they have done a good job in addressing all of our concerns, and we expect them to do the same moving forward.
Okay. All right, so this is resolution 23-5. And
I mean, I would make a motion, but for preliminary land development, not final.
Second.
You have a motion and a second on the table right now, so I had my microphone on. So if you would like to offer an amendment to that, you can offer an amendment, and then Ms. Mullen and Mr. Palmer can either accept your amendment or reject it, and if they accept it, you'll vote on the accepted amended motion. If they reject it, we're going to vote on the motion that Ms. Mullen just made.
all right, I'll do that then. I'll amend the motion to for preliminary and final.
Ms. Mullen, do you accept the amendment?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll vote on preliminary.
Preliminary only we're voting on right now.
So again, this was resolution 23-5. There's a motion for preliminary land development only. Can you poll the board?
Yes. Aaron Mullen,
Yes.
John Palmer,
Yes.
Jeff Boraski,
Yes.
and Brian Galloway, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, number 5, consider authorization for advertisement amending ordinance chapter 146, contractor responsibilities certification of the code of the Township of Falls to revise the requirements for contractors bidding on public works to ensure a qualified craft labor workforce. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Boraski. As the board is aware, the township has had a responsible contractor ordinance for many years, and we have not amended our ordinance, as far as I'm aware, in probably a dozen years. Within the last several years, there was a legal challenge to the responsible contractor ordinance in another municipality. It was unsuccessful. The courts determined that responsible contractor ordinances are legal. But one of the issues that came out of that case was a loophole that was actually identified by the company and individuals who were challenging the ordinance. And essentially, you wanted people who were participating in an apprenticeship program to demonstrate that they are participated in this program to be eligible for being awarded the bid. But it was pointed out that it didn't necessarily require that anyone who actually was an apprentice or had completed an apprenticeship program was actually doing the work. The proposed ordinance amendment that you have in front of you this evening would require that a minimum of 70% of the craft labor workforce on a project will have completed an approved apprenticeship program or are currently enrolled in a approved apprenticeship program. This will close that loophole, and this will ensure that any work that we do, that you're getting highly qualified and highly skilled people who are doing the work. This is of significance at this point in time because we are moving forward with the renovation of this building and want to make sure that the most highly qualified workers are the ones who are going to be doing the work. So this is just advertising only.
Is there any questions from the board?
None.
No. And I have no questions. Is there a motion to advertise the ordinance? Do we have an ordinance number? So be
We don't have an ordinance number yet because it'll
Okay,
just be
so we're just
advertised.
advertising the ordinance,
Yep.
okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, you need to ask for public comment?
I'm sorry, is there
Yeah.
any public comment? No public comment. Agenda item number 6, consider authorization for advertisement for bids for Falls Township building renovations. Mr. Takita?
The board is being asked to consider authorization to advertise bids for the Falls Township building renovations. If approved, we will have the bid posting on March 8th.
Is there any questions from the board?
None.
No.
Public comment? See no hands. All in favor to advertise? We need a motion, right? We got a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 7, consideration of engagement letter of Concord Public Finance dated February 13th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Boraski. Now that the board has authorized bids for the building renovations, the board will need to go out into the market to borrow money to pay for the building renovations. The township has been working informally with Concord Public Finance, who the township has worked with in the past. I believe TOFA has worked with Concord Public Finance in the past, and they will serve as the township's financial advisor for any borrowing for the new building. So we need to approve their agreement.
Is there a motion to approve their agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Do we pull the board, or we're okay?
You're okay. You're not spending any money as of right now, and they don't get paid until the borrowing is completed.
Okay, motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment again?
No, I asked for that. Public
Okay.
comment? There's no hands.
Second.
Thank you.
Oh, there's a question.
Oh, go ahead. You got to come up, though.
I see that the word renovation is being used. I just wanted to be
And
clear.
please identify yourself and
Oh,
whether
I'm
you're
sorry.
a resident or a non-resident.
Charles Bazo, resident, Falls Township. You used the word renovation. Are we renovating this building or are we building a new one?
We are. We're renovating this building. It's coming down. It's coming down to basically just what's standing. Like it'll be a full renovation of the entire facility.
Okay, so we're renovating this building.
We are.
Up to 95% or so, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do you want to comment, or do you want to give it a little, real quick, or no?
We're not building a new structure.
Okay. We're not building a new structure, but this is, what percentage would you say?
80%, that's fine.
The 90% range, yeah.
Just making sure I'm clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're at number 8, I think. Number 8.
Yep.
Consider resolution authorizing the township to pay for costs relating to a capital project from funds currently available if necessary, and stating the official intent of the township to reimburse said funds from the proceeds of tax exempt obligations to be issued by the township. Mr. Takita or Mr. Clark?
This is a resolution commonly referred to as a reimbursement resolution. What this means is that you have been spending money in the development of the building renovation. Once you go out and borrow money, you will be able to pay yourself back any of the money that's already been spent. So you need to adopt this resolution, and it will be made part of any borrowing. So you'll be able to reimburse the township from the borrowed money.
Is there questions from the board?
No.
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 Public comment? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9, consider ratifying the agreement between Falls Township and Limbeck, is that right? Limbeck USA.
The board is being asked to consider ratifying an agreement between Falls Township and Limbeck USA for temporary leasing of, to use and occupy approximately 12,482 square feet on the first floor and approximately 10,833 square feet on the second floor of Suite 225 at 450 Lincoln Highway. The lease period will begin on May 1st, 2023, and it will last through April 30th, 2024, and continue thereafter on a month-to-month basis.
So this agreement is basically the township moving their administrative services to the Social Security building, which is north about a mile on Lincoln Highway. Any of our services basically that residents walk into and need to see an administrator will still be accessible. I believe, is the tax collector moving as well?
Yes.
Okay. So that was pretty simple. We just have a little bit of renovations to do to make it, to get it ready for us. Police are going as well?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion? Oh,
So-
sorry, we need
Questions?
questions from the board.
No questions.
No questions.
Like, the
Is there
countdown is on.
Countdown's on.
It's like,
Is there any public comment or questions? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 10, consider resolution for appointment of voting delegates and alternates to the Bucks County Tax Collection Committee. Who's got that? Mrs. Rukoff's here. Thank you.
No problem. Good evening. The Tax Collection Committee is comprised of a group of representatives from the taxing districts that impose an earned income tax in Bucks County. We're required to each appoint delegates to form this committee, and it meets quarterly regarding the earned income tax.
How many people? Like what, how many people would we be looking at?
On the, for us or on
Yeah.
the whole committee? For
Yeah.
us, we have to appoint a delegate, an alternate, and a second alternate.
Oh, okay.
So I believe on the resolution, I would be appointed as the delegate to attend the quarterly
Okay.
meetings. One of my staff members would be the alternate if I could not make it, and then Mr. Takita would be the second alternate.
Okay. Is there any questions?
None, no questions.
No.
Any questions, public comment or questions? No.
This is Resolution
So-
2023-7.
That's what?
2023-7.
So we're just, do we need to appoint anybody or no?
It's already there.
It's part of the resolution.
What's
It's
that?
it's on the resolution.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 11, consider ratifying approval of redevelopment assistance capital program cooperation agreement with Snipes Farm and Education Center.
Thank you, Mr. Boraski. This is an agreement between the township and Snipes Farm and Education Center, as you indicated. The township has agreed to act as a project sponsor for a grant application with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on behalf of the Snipes Farm. This agreement places the responsibility of complying with all of the grant requirements on the Snipes Farm itself, and indemnifies the township from any cost or risk associated with the project. So this is an agreement in a form required by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and we have reviewed it, and it is in a form acceptable for your consideration tonight.
Any questions?
No.
No questions.
Any public comment? Is there a motion?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 12, consideration of authorization of advertised ordinance authorizing execution of cable franchise agreement between the township and Verizon Pennsylvania LLC.
Thank you again, Mr. Boraski. This is a result of negotiations between the Bucks County Consortium, which consists of 22 municipalities, including the township, and Verizon for a new franchise agreement. The township entered into the franchise agreement, or the consortium, which was negotiated by the Cohen Law Group. After several years of negotiation, the consortium has reached a tentative agreement with Verizon. This will provide for franchise fees of up to 5% for the township, and it also includes new sources that are not in the current agreement, including regional sports programming fees and revenue from the sale of subscriber lists. There are a variety of other concessions that were made in the agreement that are outlined in a memo from the Cohen Law Group. We've reviewed this, and it is going to require an ordinance in order to approve, so this is just authorization for advertising for that ordinance.
Any questions?
No.
Yeah, I have a question. What happens if we don't approve this?
Well, the current agreement, I believe, has already expired or is about to expire. So the township would then have to negotiate a new franchise agreement with Verizon on its own. This current agreement, because of the fact that it was 22 municipalities, they were able to negotiate terms that were not included in the township's current agreement. Verizon is claiming that there are several factors that they wanted to initially reduce the franchise fees. They wanted to be able to terminate the agreement on no notice to the township, and they were able to, the Cohen Law Group was able to get significant concessions from Verizon.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Is there a motion to open public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tony Batiste, resident. I just have a couple questions on that, and that is, does this require Verizon to maintain the lines and keep them from drooping? A lot of times they droop into the people's yards, and I think it's a hazard for kids that are playing with pool noodles and whatever else reaches up there.
Verizon, this is for cable services only. It has to do with the payment of the franchise fee. I don't believe that this addresses any of the maintenance concerns, but it does set up a program for certain customer service standard concessions were added into the agreement. So things like there's only a 4-hour appointment window, and they're required to report back to the township for any customer service issues on a quarterly basis.
Okay, because the second question was going to be, when they string new lines, quite often they leave the old ones there, and I understand the old ones aren't actually being used anymore. But we start getting this abundance of wires going across properties.
Yeah, that's outside the township's jurisdiction. Verizon is a publicly regulated utility, so the Public Utility Commission has jurisdiction over things of that nature.
Okay, because there is an easement on the properties for the public utilities, and if they're not going to maintain their utilities, then the township should be able to step in and say, hey, we need a little cooperation here.
Again, the Public Utility Commission has most of the jurisdiction over Verizon. We're able to enter into this agreement because Verizon is using the township's right-of-way for cable, and this only applies to Verizon's cable services.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Motion to close?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Is there a motion to advertise the ordinance?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 13, consider a proposal from Jones Engineering Associates for Martins Creek Stormwater Conveyance and Stream Bank Stabilization Project.
The board is being asked to consider proposal for professional engineering services for the design of improvements associated with the Martins Creek Stormwater Conveyance Works and Stream Bank Restoration Project. The improvement plan set will incorporate the proposed repairs to the failed culvert and conveyance system and improvements associated with stream bank stabilization previously discussed with the board. The improvements themselves will consist of reconstructing stormwater conveyance systems that exist along Martins Creek within the Phase 1 of the Falls Township Community Park. The total cost of design services is $175,000.
So any questions for Mr. Jones?
Yeah, Mr. Jones, is this where Martins Creek is at the park?
Yes.
And then how long of the bank will benefit from this?
We're anticipating 1,000 feet upstream and down.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer?
How do we expand on this? Because I know many places that needed addressed at Martins Creek.
We, Mr. Palmer, we have a pretty robust MS4 program, and we've identified multiple projects within that program to do a pollutant reduction, and there are There's this, and I believe 2 other targeted projects for stream bank restoration to stop erosion and to stop the sediment from entering into Martins Creek, thereby reducing the pollutant load. So I could get you a list of the projects from the MS4.
Sure.
And we
Now,
can
is there any state or federal funding that can help us with this project?
There may be green infrastructure funds available, and I could certainly work with the manager to work with our grant writers to see if there's opportunities for that.
Awesome, thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
Yeah, you said this is down to Township Park?
Yes, sir.
There was an area that I visited last year with Chairman Dance. I believe that's the area you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, that's a
Water
mess.
stagnation problem.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Don't even know how it got that way. All right, thank you.
Is there any public comment, questions? Motion to open public comment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Charlie Bazzo, Falls Township. I want to make sure I understand this. You're talking about the culvert that goes underneath the Delaware Canal,
That's correct.
right off the driveway into the park?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess if you're looking for grant money, you might be able to find it through the DCNR? Have you guys been in touch with them? And will we have to close the towpath and the canal off while this is being done? It sounds like there's going to be a lot more impact here than just fixing the culvert. It goes underneath the canal at that point.
It does, and we're going to identify the improvements based on this proposal, and once we do, we'll report back to the board, and it'll be an agenda item to describe what the improvements consist of. So we know we need to move the water, it's stagnated, and there's a drop system that gets the water underneath the canal, so we may be able to follow that path with new infrastructure through jacking
This survey was done, what, 2 years ago, I think, in November?
Yeah, we haven't surveyed it yet, that's part of our scope. I know that we.
I was back there one day when I saw a team of divers going into the culvert. I didn't know if they had to do it.
It wasn't us.
No, it wasn't. It was the state.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if that was part of the inspection program or
It may be.
preliminary?
Not ours, but I guess
Okay.
the canal, the DCNR, someone must have done it, but I'm not aware of that.
I mean, I can tell from looking at the outside of it, it looks bad, at least on the park side.
Yes.
But it sounds like it's gonna be major, and I don't know what has to happen to impact the canal towpath.
Well,
But
obviously
your
it'll be-
DCNR would be the people to connect to.
Yeah, but it'll be, fully permanent, obviously, so all the proper jurisdictions will oversee whatever improvements we come up with.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? A motion to close public comment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a motion at this time?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 14, consider proposal, oh, we did this, we're on 15. 15.
14.
Right?
14.
14.
It's another proposal.
Yeah, 13.
Similar.
They're similar. Item 14, consider proposal from Jones Engineering Associates for Vermilion Hills Footbridge refurbishment and stream bank stabilization project. Mr. Takita?
The board is being asked to consider a proposal for professional engineering services for the design of improvements associated with the Vermilion Hills Footbridge and stream bank restoration project. The improvement plan set will incorporate the proposed repairs to the footbridge, walking path, and improvements associated with stream bank stabilization previously discussed with the board. The total project cost, design project cost is $95,900.
Thank you, Mr. Takita. Questions from the board, Mr. Gallagher?
No questions.
I have none. Ms. Mullen?
No questions.
No
Palmer?
questions. No questions.
Mr. Jones, anything to add?
Nothing.
Is there any public comment needed? See no hands. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 15, consider resolution for sale of township surplus vehicles. Mr. Lawson?
Good evening. Excuse me. We're asking for the board to approve the surplus list to go on the municipal bid. We are set up for appraisals on March 1st, and then we're looking to have the sale from March 15th to March 22nd.
Okay, is there any questions for Mr. Lawson?
No questions.
None.
About how many vehicles do we have surplus right now?
So right now, we're going out with 11 vehicles and then 2 pieces of equipment, the old tar machine and then a old leaf collector.
Who's driving this one from 1993? Who's been using that?
It's probably one of the policemen. But no, since I got here 6 years ago, we have done revamping of the purchasing of vehicles, and the board has made our life easier by giving us that equipment to work with. We have gone 20 years, 25 years with equipment that should have been replaced 10 to 15 years ago. So we're doing good, the police are doing good, and also the other departments, the finance, the fire, the code, these all got old police cars passed down to them, and we took them out of a service for a reason, because they needed work, they just nickeled and dimed us. So now we're getting newer vehicles and longer lifespan out of them.
So Lawson, I know we've done this in the past, and I don't know, haven't had a chance to look at the list, but is there any vehicles, and maybe the chief can answer, but is there any vehicles of any of the lights on top that we can reach out to the fire department, see if they have any need for, or?
So we will pull some of the lights off that are close in age. We're letting the older ones go because we really can't piece them together. But, you know, we're more than welcome to pull them off and talk to the police. Now, we do not allow them to have we do not allow them to have the red and blue lights.
Right.
So when we give them the light bar, it's either all red or all blue.
Right.
So they do not get both, so
Okay.
there is no one can make a light bar that acts like a police officer.
All right, just so we're keeping an eye on that if we have anything available for the, the squad or the fire departments, whatever they need.
Yep.
Is there any public comment? No hands. Is there a motion?
This is Resolution 2023-8.
I'm sorry, 2023-8.
Correct.
There's been a motion made. Second, anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You staying there, Jay?
Yes.
All right. Number 16, consider notice of intent to award bid for tree trimming and removal of tree services. Mr. Lawson?
So we went out to bid for our tree service like we do every year. We had 2 bidders. After going to the solicitors for checking the documentation, we saw that 1 disqualified. So we would like to award the bid to Kent's Tree Service for the year of 2023.
Any questions from the board?
No.
No.
Nope.
Mr. Palmer?
No.
Mr. Lawson, was Kent's pricing?
They were
did they
very
work?
close. They were about,
How about their pricing as opposed to the last contract?
it's the same.
Oh, they didn't raise
They
the
didn't
rates.
raise it. So their half a day rate is $880, and the other bidder was $850. So they're very close.
Okay.
Their crane rate, one was $125 an hour, one was $130. So they were very close. We've been working with Kent's the last 6 years. He is a company in the township, so
Yep.
live here, spend here. So, and we have no problems or issues with it.
Any questions? Any public comment? Questions? See no hands. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Lawson, you're staying again. Consider ratifying quotes for fertilizer for township facilities.
Glad you put me all together. This is the fertilization for all the parks, the grass seeding, and spraying for ticks and other nuisance bugs down at the Quaker Penn Park. For the last few years, since I've been here, True Green has been the lowest bidder, and their lowest bid this year, they are the lowest bidder this year of $20,465.40.
Questions from the board?
None.
None.
Public
None.
comment needed? See no hands. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 18, consider purchase of vehicles for the police department. I thought that was gonna be Jay again.
He'd like that.
He likes the camera time.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board. You're being asked to consider authorizing the purchase of 4 patrol vehicles for the police department. These vehicles were budgeted for our 2023 capital budget, and they're part of our annual replacement plan. The 4 vehicles would be 2023 Ford Explorers for a total cost of $257,585. They'd be purchased from Fred Beans, who is a CoStar's dealer and upfitted by Tryon Emergency Vehicle Upfitting. They're replacing 2 2019 Ford Explorers, 1 2017 Ford Explorer, and 1 2019 Dodge Charger, which have all reached the end of their service lifespan. Those 4 vehicles are also not equipped with the more modern safety features that we've been upfitting vehicles with, things like slowing the flash pattern of the emergency lighting package when the vehicle's in park, lowering the intensity of the emergency lighting at nighttime, and some other features that we've been using more recently.
Any questions for the chief?
Yeah, I have one. Are these regular police vehicles or are these ghosted vehicles?
These, all 4 will be black and white marked vehicles.
Thank you.
Any public comment? I see no hands. I have a question regarding these in particular, but we still have cars outstanding, or we don't? I know there was like a little bit of a waiting period. We were like waiting to get cars in. Are we up to date?
No, we still have 3 cars that we purchased last year that were only recently delivered. There were a confluence of things that delayed the upfitting last year. Part of it was Ford. Part of it was we were waiting for the body-worn cameras to be delivered, which delayed some of the upfitting that could be done.
So do we have a time when we would expect them to be on the road?
I don't have an estimate from
Okay.
Tryon.
Okay. Oh, they're
we
there
are on
though?
top of it. They're there.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, the new ones are the Ford, Fred Beans today told me the new vehicles are trickling in. That was the word they used. So we may be up against, some time issues getting these new vehicles if they're approved from Ford. But we're kind of at the mercy of Ford Motor Company like everybody else is.
All right. If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 19 is consider donation request, Mr. Tequita.
The township received donation requests from the following organizations: Levittown American and the American Legion for their Memorial Day Parade. The township included funding for $6,000 in the 2023 budget for these donations, and the board is being asked to consider approval of these donations.
Is there any questions?
No.
None.
Any public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that the only one?
Yes.
Item 20, appointments to various boards, councils, committees, and commissions. I'd like to make a motion. We have a vacancy on the zoning hearing board, which was created when a member had, I think he resigned. We had 2 people leave, we backfilled one. So anyway, we had some interest from a member of the planning commission whose term was expired. He asked to be moved to zoning and hearing. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Robert Mateg to the zoning hearing board.
Seconded.
Motion made, second. All in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Boraski, that is by resolution, that should be in your packets tonight.
Okay. So resolution 23-9.
-9.
And that would leave a opening on the planning commission, and I'd like to make a motion to appoint, that's not by resolution though, right? Planning?
Our ordinance does require it by resolution, yes.
Both?
Yes.
Okay, so that'd be resolution 23-10.
Correct.
Planning commission. Just drew a blank. Danny Everett.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Does anybody else have anything at this time?
Mr. Boraski, the board should entertain public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you're afraid to ask me, say it to me one more
I
time.
was, I've gotten
Is
yelled
there any
at.
public comment? We're just backfilling some vacancies that we've had for a while, because I think the law changed and requires us now to put this on the agenda. We didn't do that before, so we've been waiting on this since January.
Correct, and just to be clear, I believe there's 2 openings on the zoning hearing board. One is an alternate position, one's apologies. I believe there's 2 openings on the zoning hearing board currently. One is an alternate, one is a full position. My understanding is that the appointment that you just
Right.
made is for the full position.
Right. And, no.
1 second. Thanks. Mr. Vice, are you the chair tonight or still the vice chair?
What's that?
Are you the chairperson tonight or still the vice chair?
Still the vice chair.
Mr. Vice Chair, yeah, I would like to move to appoint Nastasha Raisley as an alternate to the zoning hearing board by way of resolution.
I'll second. Motion's been made and seconded. That's by way of resolution too?
Correct.
All right, and that's 23-11.
11.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
And we still have, I think, there might be some more alternate spots. I have another one for an alternate for the planning commission. There was a letter of interest from Mr. Dave Coyne. So I'll make a motion to appoint Dave Coyne to the alternate position on the planning commission.
Second.
So the motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment.
Public comment.
Is there any public comment needed? All right, so that was a full member to the zoning hearing, an alternate to the zoning hearing, full member to the planning commission, alternate to the planning commission.
And the alternate for the planning commission will be resolution 2312.
Right, thank you. Is there any other ones? Mr. Palmer?
No, I don't have any right now.
You good? Okay. We can just move on from that then? We're good? Okay. Item 21 is minutes. Is there any questions or comments?
No.
Public comment? Excellent minutes as always, Mrs. Pullen.
I met Mrs. Pullen.
You did.
Yeah, finally. She was excellent in person.
Mr. Clark, while we're on the minutes, I did see Mrs. Pullen last weekend and talked to her about recording the minutes. And maybe I should have checked you guys first, but is there any issues with if she had something else to do, because these are being broadcasted live and then instantly rebroadcasted? Could she take the minutes? Like, does she have to produce the minutes record the minutes as we're having the meeting?
As long as we're confident that any audio recording or video recording would work perfectly, then she could take them from watching the video or the audio or listening to the audio.
All right. I was just curious. All right, so there was, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Engineers report.
Thank you, Mr. Boraski. You can see from the month of January, we had 1 new earth disturbance application submitted and 2 new land developments. The earth disturbance is a McDonald's drive-through. I have an urge to sing now, so hopefully I don't.
That's me, I'm trying to adjust it, go ahead.
Yeah, and the land development was for Pensbury Plaza. That's a building addition, a minor building addition for retail, and this RST Bucks Group sketch plan, which is on MY Lane. It's adjacent to the Falls Catering Facility beyond the tunnel. And that sketch plan consists of a proposed warehouse and some open area storage at that property. Other notable updates, the North Point Phase 1 Building 3 is nearing a TCO if they don't already have it. So that building is mostly complete, which is pretty exciting. The Mission Barbecue is now under construction for the restaurant as well as the site work facilities because their sewage planning module was actually ultimately waived by DEP after that delay. The Pennsbury School District athletic fields, as well as the SIV ambulance, and North Point buildings 7, 8, 9, and 10 will all be at the Planning Commission tomorrow night for recommendations for various approvals. And then the Pensbury Plaza, again, I mentioned that up top. That's a building addition down off of West Trenton Avenue. And I mentioned the RST Bucks Group. In terms of the earth disturbances, they're pretty silent this month. The Padria residence home has been approved. At least our letter recommends approval of the permits for that, and McDonald's is under review. In terms of the township projects, the only update I have is what you already know, that the township building is ready for bids.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any questions for Mr. Jones from the board?
None.
Mr. Galloway?
None.
Ms. Muller?
No,
Mr. Palmer?
thank
Yeah, one. SIV ambulance.
Yes.
I remember they came to us. What is going on with them right now?
Conditional use was approved by the board, and now they're in for the land development approval. We went through a review. We issued the review letter to the applicant's attorney. There's been some changes to the layout since it came before you for conditional use that triggered another zoning variance. They moved the parking a little bit closer to North Olds Boulevard. It's a better design. Right now, the applicant is considering whether to take it to zoning or whether to revise it back to eliminate the need for that variance. So it's on the Planning Commission agenda for tomorrow, but it's our understanding that they're going to ask to table it for the next month. But it's essentially what you saw, just in a land development form now.
Okay, now the next question, with that whole area, townships moving in over there, is that going to affect any of the parking or anything?
Well, they certainly are entered into a shared agreement with that building, and so for sure, I think it couldn't not have an effect on the available parking. But I think that what they do is store trucks and different vehicles there, so I don't think it's an influx of parked vehicles interacting like a parking lot would, so they'll probably have a portion of it quadranted off for storage of their vehicles. So it should be something that could be anticipated.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Questions? See no hands. Is there a motion to accept the engineer's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 23, bill list. Mr. Takita, do you have the narrative for the bills?
Yes. The February bills total $2,527,061.25. Of that amount, $1,132,657.09 is payroll and benefits. The remaining $1,394,404.16 includes payments to General Asphalt for the 2022 road program, payments to the architectural and construction company for the municipal building renovation project, and payments to Promax Fence for the removal and installation of fencing along Lincoln Circle.
Thank you, Mr. Takita. Is there a motion to pay the bills or any questions regarding the bill list?
None.
No.
Public comment? See no hands. Is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we got to poll the board, right?
Yes.
Poll the board, please, Mr. Galloway.
Aaron Mullen.
Yes.
John Palmer.
Yes.
He said
He
yes.
said yes. Jeff Brasky.
Yes.
And I am yes.
Thank you. Item 25, executive session. Mr. Clark commented when we started.
20,
Item,
you mean
right?
24?
24, yeah.
I'm sorry, 24. Engineering bill list.
Yes.
Okay.
The total amount for engineering services for the month of February is $319,425.90.
Any questions for Mr. Takita?
No questions.
None.
No.
Any public comment or questions? See no hands. Mr. there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Seconded.
Can you poll the board, please?
Aaron Mullen.
Yes.
John Palmer.
Yes.
Jeff Boraski.
Yes.
I am yes.
All right. 25, we're good. Item 26, Police Department Board. Chief Whitney.
Thank you. Members of the board, in February, the Falls Township Police Department responded to 1,489 calls for service. Those calls included 85 car crashes and 5 overdoses. Some highlights from the month: our Detective Bureau filed charges in relation to an overdose death from November of 2021. Drug delivery resulting in death, among other charges, was filed. On February 16th, our officers responded to the Commons of Fallsington for report of a 49-year-old in cardiac arrest. Our officers initiated CPR until relieved by the medics. Prior to being transported from the scene, they had regained a pulse for the victim. On February 23rd, we had a threats complaint that led to a containment operation and a partial activation of the SWAT team. A suicidal subject had barricaded himself in his residence. He was eventually coaxed into coming out with no injuries to himself. And finally, on the 24th, our officers were dispatched to a business where the business had a camera system, and the owner had observed on camera someone stealing a vehicle. Our officers arrived, established a perimeter, and were able to capture the individual who was stealing the vehicle. We also welcome Ann Emery, our new certified recovery specialist. She's been working with us for the past several weeks and replaces our CRS who left for another employment opportunity. Very nice person working on her bachelor's degree, and that's an important program for us, so we're glad to have a CRS back on board. And Kathy Kaufman retired. Detective Kaufman had 25 years of service, and we wish her well. I didn't make it to the report, but my wife and I were able to attend at the Bucks County Community College their second annual Dream Builder Award ceremony. People from all over the county were there, but I'm proud to say we're the only police department to be there. And we were there to support, among others, Karen Downer, who's the president of our Bucks NAACP. She received an award. And that's my report for the evening.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Is there any questions?
No, no questions.
Yeah, I have one. I'm not sure if the chief wants to tell the good news or Matt. We heard something earlier about accreditation for the police academy for a partnership with Bucks County Community College.
Yes, you know, we've been running our Youth Police Academy since 2016, and one of the organizations we've partnered with over the years is the Bucks County Community College. Just a great organization to partner with, and we've had them come out to our youth academy, and we've had officers, including myself, do presentations for them. And the community college has agreed to award our graduates credit for a 3-credit criminal justice course. So any youth cadet who graduates our Youth Police Academy, if they go on to pursue an education in criminal justice, they can get credit for 1 full course at Bucks County Community College.
Excellent.
Good work.
Chief, do we have any intentions, or are we still in any process of accommodations for our officers? Is it something we did before yearly, or was every couple of years? I don't know if we've done it in a while. I know we had COVID and we weren't here in the building, but do we still do that?
We do. We did an award ceremony in 20 and 21. We didn't do one last year, but we do have a number of recommendations that we intend on acting on this year.
Okay. So we'll do one this year at some point at the end of the year? Or?
We definitely will,
Okay.
including awarding officers for their service during the pandemic.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there any public comment? Any questions for the chief while he's here? Good, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Chief.
Item number 27, manager comment.
No comments.
No comments?
No comments. For real.
Sure. Item 28, board comment. Mr. Palmer?
No comment.
Ms. Mullen?
Nothing.
Yeah. Just a reminder, on March 11th, we're going to be having the 34th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. Hopefully we have good weather. It's been difficult the last couple of years with COVID and with the rain. The rain is the one thing it's no good for the parade. Snow is fine. Cold weather we deal with, but the participants, they wear outfits and such, so if it rains again like it did last year, we have to cancel the parade. But I'm not going to say that again. We're going to have the parade this year. It's our 34th. Our Grand Marshal's Tom Rich, from the CEO of Conwegan Catholic, among other things. We're having a ball this Friday night at La Luna, and that ball is sold out. So we're looking at a really exciting year, maybe one of the bigger parades we've had, and to have our presence again on New Falls Road will be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galloway. And I have no comment myself. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Not bad.